Well, hello and welcome to Tame Your Muse. The topic of today's short is experimenting with making marks on the gel plate. So what I'm going to do is use a good old Sharpie marker, and I also have acrylic paint pens, which I like to use these empty markers that you can fill with a fluid acrylic of your choice. I prefer golden fluid acrylic, so that's what's in here. This one is black. Obviously this one's also black. One has a bolder point and one has a sharper tip. So I have those things, and then I'm going to lift it off. Instead of lifting it off with paint, I'm going to lift it off with a gel medium. I have two different ones today. This is a gloss medium and varnish. I think this is my thing that I want to use, but I don't know. I also have a matte medium we can try as well. So we'll experiment with those things. So I think let's just start with our sweet old Sharpie, and I'm just going to make some marks on here. Nothing fancy, just some scribbles. Oh, let's get a real spiral thing going on here. Maybe another spiral down here. So I've never actually done this before, and if you are interested, there are many people out there who are doing amazing things with marks on the gel plate with real sort of drawing techniques and that type of thing. So the goal here is to let that dry, which shouldn't take very long because it's just Sharpie. So I'm sort of peeking at the marks at an angle to see what looks still kind of shiny and what looks a little more matte. Then what we're going to do is pour some gloss medium. We'll start with this one first. Apologies, Lola is here with her tennis ball, which I'm taking away. Sorry, no tennis ball for you. Maybe later. I'm such an evil mom. She was napping a minute ago. I don't know why she's choosing this time. All right, so that looks dry. I'm going to take this lovely gloss medium from Liquitex. I'm gonna sprinkle some on. I'm going to use my roller and just roll that out. And the cool thing about this is that it's clear. So what you should end up with on the paper is those lovely marks that you made. And you may be asking yourself, well, why wouldn't I just make the marks on the paper to begin with? Well, because there are a lot of techniques you can do and combine things. So we're just seeing how this works. There's my paper. I'm using my typical, just plain cheapo, lightweight drawing paper. And we'll see if we can pick that up. I'm gonna let it sit there for a minute to make sure we can pick all of that up. And we'll take a look and see what it looks like. I love experimenting. Sometimes it turns out great and sometimes it's crap and you just say, well, not doing that again. What do you think? What do you think's gonna happen? Do you have a prediction? Let's find out. All right, well, something's happening. Something is for sure happening. So here's what I ended up with. I have some places where it picked it up very nicely and some that's left on the plate. So that clearly is not the outcome I'm looking for. So I think it's possible that I didn't let it dry long enough, which would be my instinct if it were paint, that it needed to dry longer. So I think that could be used. It's not a terrible thing. It's not a terrible thing at all. We'll just set that aside and maybe it will become part of something later. So I think what I want to do before I continue is throw some more gel medium on this plate and let's see if we can pick that up off of there, because we want it off for the next experiment. Let's see if it is. Oh, yes. better. Better, better, better. So we got that off of there. I probably will use this as a rolling off sheet because I don't see any other purpose for that. I do still see some bits on here, but we're going to ignore them and just trust they'll come off in their own way. So I'm going to try the fat point, the bold. I think the proper terminology is bold. It's bold. And let's see what kind of marks we can make. All right, this one jumps a lot, so I'm going back. That's kind of weird and wiggly on this gel plate, but let's just see. All right, so what we're going to want with this is for all of these marks to be very dry before we put the gel medium on there. All right, it's done. I'm gonna let it dry for a little bit of time, and when I think it is dry, I will meet you back here and we will try to pull it off the plate and see what happens. All right, I've waited as long as I think I can wait. I'm being very impatient. It's also difficult to tell how dry this is because this fluid acrylic tends to be more glossy than other golden paints I've used, and so the gloss that I'm seeing may just be that. It may not be quite dry, but I don't want to touch it and ruin it, so we're just going to go with it. This is, again, the gloss medium that I'm using. We'll test the matte in a little bit and see what is happening here. It seems to be pulling up some of that and repositioning it down, which tells me, guess what? It wasn't dry. Well, there you go. I do have to let you know that it's a beautiful day in New Orleans. It's about 74 degrees outside and sunny. Fortunately or unfortunately, we've had a lot of rain the last several days, so there is quite a bit of humidity in the air, which is usually my friend in the studio because I don't want the paint to dry too fast. But you know, on days like this when you want it to dry, well, gosh, gonna have to break out the old hair dryer, I guess. So we'll leave that for a second. We'll pick it up and see what it looks like and try it again. It actually, you know, kind of looks sort of cool in my opinion, in which case I'll save that for something. Also, it didn't pick everything up where it was not dry. So next step will be then to be a little more patient and let it dry. In fact, you know, I think I've watched some people do this where they actually let it dry overnight before they do this thing, but I may break out the hair dryer. So I'm liking these swirly swirlies. Let's just go for some more random marks on the plate. I think this time I will hit it with a hair dryer just so we can get the real effect. So I think that's good enough for right now. I'm gonna go hit this thing with a hair dryer and I'll be back here when it's all dry. Well, all right. I just came back from the bathroom where I carried this thing in and hit it with a hair dryer, and I think that it's really dry now. So let's try this little thing again. Again, we've got a gloss medium that we're using, and we're gonna see what happens this time. So far, we're looking pretty good. So I think the moral to this story is create your design and then go do something and come back much later to pick up the image, because at least with what I'm using, which is the fluid acrylic from Golden in a empty paint pen. Apparently it takes a little bit to dry. So the other thing I'm going to do is let this sit here for a little bit. How long is a little bit? I have no idea. No idea. It's whenever it feels right. Also, I will lift it up and peek at it, but I think leaving it longer will make sure we get all of it off the plate instead of being left behind with these ghost bits. I do really like this one that didn't work out. You know, sometimes the ones that don't work out turn out to be just as beautiful or more so than the ones that do. While we're waiting for that, let's just take a look at the difference between the Sharpie and the paint marker. There's not a huge difference. I will say the one thing I'm noticing is that my Sharpie tends to be more of a bluer black, and this acrylic paint tends to be more of a warmer black. And again, the reason that this didn't all come off the plate could be the Sharpie wasn't dry enough, or maybe I didn't leave it long enough, or any of a million other factors. That's the other thing about gel printing, is there's so many factors that go into this. Again, it's quite a humid day, warm day in New Orleans. I'm at the blessed time of year where I don't have heat or air conditioning running, so nothing is drying out my paint. Let's lift it up and see. Woo! All right. So I'll let you know I did not stop filming for this, so it's real time, however long that was that I left it on there. Look at that. That is kind of beautiful. I'll just apologize right now that I did get such a nice effect with the gloss medium. I didn't even try the matte medium, so sorry if you were waiting for that. If you want to know, maybe I'll do it in another video, but we can go ahead and look at the background, and it just makes the white parts of the paper a little shiny. So I guess if you don't want shiny, you would use a matte medium. But I think we have success, and I thank you so much for watching.